What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sixers post-game live. Sixers get the L tonight against the Boston Celtics in Game 3, 114-102. An absolutely devastating loss from beginning to end. Most notably, James Harden. We're going to be talking about it. Joining me, Big Al, the guy at Edge of Philly Sports. What's up, Al?
Not my optimism or morale at this point, that's for sure. It's I don't know, man. It's just this team. They said it during the broadcast, and I took my notes, and I'm like, I'm stealing this because it's true. They were missing aggression. They were lackluster. Everybody was kind of like, should they have played Embiid? Should they have done this? Should they do this? Joel Embiid looked like Joel Embiid tonight, but nobody else did. Nobody else did, and if you want to say something, Boston wants this more. Boston has, it's just they're playing keep away. They're being aggressive. They're not shying down. There's so many positives about the Celtics and not many about the Sixers. Steve, yeah, JoJo is getting stronger. Harden had a little glimpse of hope at the end there, but it was too little too late for him. I don't know whatever you want to call that. But sluggish start, sluggish coming out of the half again. Like I don't get it. Like what was this listful type play what we see from them coming? It's like they're like an old diesel engine. They got to start up slow and play from behind. And this Celtics team is not somebody you're gonna get away with it.
Nope, absolutely not. I got to throw it back. Before we go forward, let's throw it back to game one, to this moment here, because that's all I thought about during this game.
If there's still a morning here, the Bruins lost 1.
Only one game. Yes, it was only
Harden
one.
was telling us he's only going to play good in one game. Like, that's all he's going to do. I'm just going to play one game, guys, and I'm done.
He saw the future because James Harden was absolutely god-awful in this. Easily his worst game of the year. 16 points, 11 assists. Those surface stats look okay, but when you look into this, we saw James Harden literally evolve into Ben Simmons in the second half of this one. We talked about it in game two during the post game. His struggles in the paint were there. It translated into game 3, and man, he was scared. Absolutely a deer in the headlights every time he was able to dribble past the man. And I thought he was getting shots, but instead of just taking the 8-footer, the floater, a runner, he passed it to a guy on the perimeter. And it kind of had a trickle-down effect to the entire offense. And they never recovered. James Harden, man, inside the paint was god-awful. Let me share my screen here. Here is his shot chart. They can't win this way. They can't win this way. And we're going to get into Tyrese Maxey next. But here it is. There's James Harden, man. This is the stuff that nightmares are made of. All that red. It sucks because we saw this with Ben Simmons in Atlanta when they could not do anything. He was almost unplayable, just like Ben Simmons in Atlanta. James Harden here in game 3 against the Boston Celtics. So what was your take on James Harden?
Vomit is a good take, I think, to start with. Like you said, 16 points, not great for James Harden, but that, like you said, it doesn't tell the story in any which way. He was scared. Deer in headlights, did not want it. It was obvious to everybody in the arena. It was obvious to everyone at home watching the game. It was obvious to the announcers, obvious to anybody with a half an IQ to watch basketball. He didn't want it. He literally had to be told by Joel Embiid during the play, shoot, take the ball, take the shot, go. And that's when, at the end, he kind of turned it on a little bit and gave you what I guess half of his points would be garbage time points. But he literally went from the first quarter to the fourth quarter without a bucket. You can't have that. You can't have, going into the fourth quarter, 2 guys in double digits. The fact that the Sixers were in this game at all, at any point, is a testament to the defense of this team, having Joel Embiid back. But other than that, this was an all Boston game. Like you look at the stats, you look at the lead tracker. I mean, it was all green the whole time. There's just not, they had a lead for a short time in the second quarter, the most of 3, and that was it. Everything else was Boston, Boston, Boston. Every time Philly inked their way up, made it close to game. Oh, they're only down by 3, they're only down by 4.
Every time.
Bang, bang, they fall backwards 10 points, and that was it. It's gut-wrenching. It's gut-wrenching. It's like I honestly feel as a Philly fan, not just a Sixers fan, but a Philly fan is, I don't know what's worse, just getting your ass handed to you and not making the playoffs and not doing well, or this getting to the finish line and just getting tripped and falling flat on your face, because this is what this Sixers team is doing. This Celtics team's a good team. They spread it out. They're deep. But they're not great, and they're beatable. They're absolutely can be beaten. And I'm not going to sit here and give you cliche answers that the Sixers were good or were bad. They beat themselves. The Celtics didn't beat them. No, the Celtics kept them off rhythm. They had no rhythm. You saw that in the beginning of the game. You saw that coming out of the half. You saw that all night with James Harden and Tyrese Maxey. I'm going to be on him a little bit about it. Tobias, he got in foul trouble. He didn't even hit double digits tonight. I don't know. They're hoping Georges Niang was going to be the answer.
Yeah. I agree about the Celtics take too, because there were many moments in this game that Boston was keeping Philly in the game. There were so many different times when the Sixers could have took the lead, extended their lead, and whatever, but Boston just didn't have a great game tonight, not by any stretch of the imagination. It just seemed like they won on all the little things. They won on the hustle points. They won on diving for balls. The ball was bouncing their way. The offensive boards, the second chance points. Every time James Harden was complaining about a goddamn foul after a drive, boom, easy transition bucket on the other end. It was brutal to watch. And I hate to say it, man, just the Celtics were playing championship basketball. And I'm not saying that they're like the championship team in the NBA, but 6 players in double digits. Look at the Sixers, man. It was Embiid, Melton, and who? That's it. No one showed up for the Sixers tonight. Steven says we're missing open shots, the uncontested shots. It's killing us. We are better than this. I don't know what they're going to do with James Harden in that contract, man. I get you have to bring him back, because I don't know if you can sign anybody if you let James Harden go. I think they're screwed in that way. But they have a forward problem, Al. Jalen McDaniels, PJ Tucker, although he did hit 3 3-pointers tonight for the 3rd time in the entirety of this season. Georges Niang, they just need more. They're just not there. You look at the roster for the Boston Celtics, they're just built better, and you can't deny that.
And like I said, if you look at Boston, just looking at their stats right now, I mean, you have 6 guys, all 6 guys in double digits, all playing well, distributing the ball. Williams was, doing what he was supposed to do. They were getting in Embiid's face, but still Embiid was in. If I said to you, yo, Dibes, it's Al from the future. You're about to sit down and watch the Sixers Celtics game, and I was going to tell you you're going to get 13 points, 3 assists, and 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and 30 points from Joel Embiid tonight against the Celtics. You'd probably feel that's close to a W. You'd be running out to go put a couple of shillings on this game.
Yeah.
But the drop off, the total drop off from offensive production was disgusting. I mean, again, they played decent defense. I agree with you. The ball definitely didn't bounce their way, but that team out-hustled them. I mean, Marcus Smart, I can't stand the man, but he got the hustling award because that's what he does. He makes up for it. He is going to be kind of like what we said about PJ Tucker. You know what I mean? We said that about him. Or not say we. Embiid said about him last year when they got knocked out by the Heat. He said, we need a PJ Tucker. Well, we also need a Marcus Smart type player to out hustle. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like, Embiid's the maestro and he's leading the band. But when he's not there, like, they don't know what to do with themselves.
No.
And people are like, oh, well, look how they play as well as they do without Embiid. Oh, okay. But look what you gave up. I mean, if you go back to game 2, that was like especially the first half. I mean, game 1, that was especially in the first half. That was back and forth. It was like shot for shot, punch for punch type situation. And it's hard. It's hard to watch. And like looking at the numbers here, Boston beat the Sixers with points in the paint 32-28. That shouldn't happen. Second chance points were 11-7 in favor of Boston again. And fast break 15-7. It just can't happen that way.
Yeah. Let's go to some comments quick, and then we'll get into Tyrese Maxey. Andre says Philly is lucky Boston gave away game 1. Steven says James Harden gave this game away. I fully agree. An average, mediocre game from James Harden, and the Sixers probably get the W tonight. Gretchen's not very happy right now. Walter says the Philly killer Horford 5 of 7 from 3. Death taxes. I mean, Horford's been horrible this series, but he did hit that huge 3-pointer at the end of this game. That was a dagger. Can't deny that. Anthony, different year, same Sixers. It always comes down to Joel Embiid playing 1-on-5. You're not wrong there, Anthony. James Harden missing shots and no rhythm in scoring in transition to make the easy transition shots. Man, if James Harden is not going to take those mid-range shots, what are we doing here? Like, it takes away the entire two-man game between Embiid and Joel Embiid and James Harden, because we saw that in the second half. The entire Boston Celtics team, they were just going into Joel Embiid's space, double teaming immediately without the basketball, and just forcing Harden to do something.
And even when they were fouling him, they were like fouling him correctly. Like, you weren't letting them get 3-point plays because they were fouling him. They weren't letting them get easy layups and keep the 2. They were fouling him appropriately. Like, there's an art to failing. Like, I always said that to people. There's an art to failing. And they were doing that, and they were minimizing his points, because if they didn't do that, those 30 points could easily be closer to 40 points. And that's a difference in the game. I mean, that's 10 points, and that's where the game differential is. So,
yep.
I mean, that's a big thing. And can I ask a question? At what point, and I'm not blaming Doc Rivers or anything, but what point does this team look at it and say, and at any point in this, I don't care, game 1 or 2, that leaving the perimeter the way they left them open, and just letting them shoot just haphazardly, just letting them go to town and just knocking down threes in that first half, like they were, like Oprah was giving them away. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand why you don't just, get up on Tatum or Brown on the perimeter every time. Every time. Do not give them space whatsoever. And I thought, Jaylen Brown is just a sensational player. What did he finish in this game? He had 23 points.
Mm-hmm.
He had 7 boards, 5 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. But his defense on James Harden, I thought, was the difference. It has been the difference the last 2 games. We saw Marcus Smart, the primary defender on James Harden game 1. That switch, I mean, there's a lot of different variables in play. And I don't really blame Doc for this loss as much as I want to. Players just aren't executing. They're not executing. And like you said, the hustle, the effort is just not there for the Sixers these last 2 games.
And I don't know what you do to incentivize this team anymore. I mean, to me, having a chance to go win a championship is enough incentivization to do so. Now you ought to go out and your big man, your partner, your brother in arms, wins the MVP finally after being kind of shunned for the last couple of years. And that's not enough of a driving force to say, all right, guys, this is our house. We just got walloped in Boston. Like, they just had their way with us. They came in our house. I mean, it's no different than that wasn't our house, but it would be like them coming in our house, kissing our girlfriends, eating our food, stealing our children. That's what they did in game 2. If that's not enough of a driving force for this team to want to play, what else? What else, man? What else has to happen for this Sixers team to wake up and say, we need to play? At least if they were hustling, like and just not hitting shots, I could swallow this game a little easier. I can't swallow. This is hot garbage, man. Hot garbage. And to be honest with you, I'm usually the more, okay, guys, we're down 2-1. Let's tighten up our bootstraps. Let's get out there. We can still take this. This series not over. I don't know, man. Series is over in my eyes. I'm not trying to be that Debbie Downer, but you show me one thing. Oh, well, all right. Well, PJ took a couple extra shots. He finally wanted to start producing on the offense a little bit because he's afraid of losing minutes. Great. Wonderful. That's it. I don't know. Like I can't get behind them right now. They're losing not just these games, but they're losing this fan base.
Well, it's the way they won in game 1 that was so impressive. It wasn't that they got the win. It was the amount of pick and rolls with Harden. It was the Paul Reed rolling to the basket, and they kept to it the entire game. With Embiid, I'm sorry, we're seeing a lot more ball watching. The ball is stagnant. It's not moving enough. And we've seen this again and again this season. It's one thing to have Joel Embiid. He's amazing. He is the MVP. He's terrific, and he should get the ball in ISO because he's so good at it. But that takes away a huge part of this offense. And there are times when it is extremely efficient. That Harden and Embiid 2-man game, they just go away from it for so long. And I agree, that is Doc. Doc's got to recognize that and get their head out of their asses and stop with the ISO ball, because we have seen Doc again and again go to that just heavy ISO. And I'm sorry, like when Harden is, let's transition to Tyrese Maxey, and then we'll get into some comments, but it's kind of related because with Harden struggling so much, then Tyrese Maxey has to be the one that steps up. And Tyrese Maxey is not there yet. He's just not there yet. And that's the truth. Is this guy is a scorer, and he's got tremendous upside. He's got a great ceiling, and I think he's going to be dynamic for the next 10 years. But Boston, the way they defend, the way they are disciplined, the way Tyrese Maxey just does not have any kind of hesitation, change of pace, any kind of that in his game, attacking the basket. Boston sees that every single time, and that is why Tyrese Maxey has struggled consistently against the Boston Celtics. And we saw it tonight. 4 of 16 he hit a couple threes that were pretty massive, but they need more. They need more from Tyrese Maxey in a game when they can't get offense out of anything. And just Maxey, he needs to learn how to be a change of pace guard, especially when it comes to penetrating and kicking eventually. But he's just not there yet, Al.
I don't know if it's just that, and then on top of the fact is, he's third fiddle, in this case. Like, he knows it's Embiid. It's like he's like looking like, do you guys want me to do this? You want me to step up and do this? Like, that's a little on Doc. Like, come here, Maxey, listen real good. James is not here. James is a shell of himself. He's shell-shocked, whatever it is. You are the guy. You're taking the point. You're doing it. You even saw it. They dropped him down to the forward, man. They dropped him down, Harden, that is, for a little bit and kept him back. Took the ball in his hand for a short time. But it's just constant. Like, you gotta be able to, when you call it, they come out of a timeout and they still don't look like they got anything done. Like, they even flashed. I don't know if you're when you're watching it, they flashed it out. I think it was coming out of the third or one of the quarters of the half or whatever. And Doc Rivers is like, "Are you guys? You got this? You got this?" And everybody's just like, "Nothing." Just it was just like, he's like, "I said, do you guys have you ready?" Like he had to say it again. They don't have it. And if you're telling me you can't have it playing in front of Philly fans in Philly, then you'll never have it. You'll never have it. With Tyrese Maxey, he's not there yet, and I'll agree with that. He's just, I think like you don't know what to do with yourself when you're the third fiddle in this case. Kind of like Tobias was for a while here until Tobias knew, like, okay, I'm either going to be catch and shoot Tobias, or, I'm going to have to step up and play, big under the basket when maybe Joel's not in or whatever it is. And that's kind of what we were complaining about Tobias for the years coming into it. And it's is it too much? Is this another bad part about the Harden playing the Harden as he's been in the last couple of games? Like, these guys, like, we want to step in, but we don't want to hurt his confidence. At this point, when in this critical position, F his confidence, man. Just got to move forward.
Yep. Here's his shot chart, Tyrese Maxey. 1 of 6 in the paint. 2, 3 of 9 from 3-point range for Tyrese Maxey. His struggles in the paint are definitely eye-opening for someone who has been one of the best at attacking the basket and finishing in the paint.
Well, that's my question too. Like, go back to that game when they played Boston and Embiid had a game, like it was like 50+ point game. What do they like? If I'm looking at this game, the thing I'm doing is Maxey, take it to the hole, kill him with speed, because that's where you can beat Boston. They can beat Boston with Tyrese's wiry speed. And then you take him in there, you start sucking in the defense on the Celtics. Then maybe you open up the perimeter if Niang's out there, if Harden's shooting better. And that's where you got to get them off balance. The passing game has been garbage over the last couple of games.
Yeah.
It's not been pretty, and that's what Boston was doing well. They're passing the ball around. That ball was being passed around 4 times before the guy was going to take a shot purposefully, because they knew by that point they would have sucked the Sixers in, and every time they did, they fell for it.
Yep. Let's go to some comments real quick. Steven says JoJo and B-Ball Paul together. Why don't we see these things before? We've been talking about this the first 2 games of this series. If there was anything that was noticeable, was that we need more B-Ball Paul. It's not going to happen. Doc's not going to experiment with this in a game 4. It's just not going to happen.
Too little, too late.
Right, but we kind of led the show open with that. Like, if there's any kind of evidence or lessons learned from this series so far, it's just the Sixers do not have the wings and the forwards and the two-way defenders like Boston. And that's a big part why Maxey can't get anything going, is that they just smother you and they can switch. And the Sixers do not switch enough, especially defensively. Kamar says,
they get pulled off their blocks way too easily too. Like they just, Embiid just sneaks up behind somebody, they go right around them, and nobody picks up a block. Nobody gets in front. They looked a little hesitant. I don't know if it's the fouling they were afraid of. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's ugly.
Yeah. Kumar says Embiid got us back down by 2 in the third, and he left in the fourth quarter, and the Sixers actually outscored the Celtics with Embiid on the bench, and they got back in the game. And like Al said at the start of the show, it seemed like every time the Sixers got within striking distance or even just took a short lead, the ball bounced towards Boston, or Boston had an effort play and extended the lead really quickly. It was a really frustrating game. Steven says, I so want to be wrong about Harden, but it's these bad off the court habits that hold this dude's consistency back. At 33, you expect his fresh legs, but what WTF? He fell off a cliff, man. I mean, that's it, right? I think that's the difference in this series is the switch of Brown onto Harden. But Harden, just like you said, Steven, falling off a cliff. You can't go from 45 points to this. That just can't happen. Like, Harden looked like the worst player on the court tonight. You can't go from the best player to the worst player. There's got to be some middle ground. And that's why you can't throw a significant amount of money at a guy like that.
He became a liability. That's the problem. He became a total liability. Like we talk about Niang when he's out there, like he's a defensive line. He was an offense and a defensive liability. He looks scared. He needs a psychologist. He doesn't need to go out and shoot around tomorrow. He needs to go sit on a couch and not get a couch dance. Like he needs to like people. Listen, let's go back to a little bit between the Nets and Celtics series, we all knew he flew out to Vegas. He was seen on TMZ. And look it, man, I don't care how he has to get himself right. If he needs to go to a strip club and, blow off some steam, whatever it is to win, that's fine. And he comes back and puts up 45 points. Awesome. Great. If he needs to go to a strip club every night to do that, I don't know if that's what's going on. We don't know. I'm not following Harden around. So I don't know to say, Steven, what he's saying here is his off the court habits. Sure. If he's not if you can't, and this is my eyes, as a professional basketball player or professional at anything, if you can't during the playoffs, lock yourself away and just play your game, watch your film, eat right, work out, be with your team. That's what they should be doing. They should go rent a house, a big house, and put the whole team in the house. And they got to share bathrooms. And did my screens go off? Sorry about that. It must have been a little flicker of the lights in here. Share bathrooms, share food, share whatever they do everything. They should be able to pass the bread around like they could pass the ball around the court. If that's what they have to do. If it is the fact that he has to go out, if he's out right now, if he needs to go blow off steam from losing, because the thing is, if you blow off steam from the same way from losing that you do for winning, it don't work.
Let's go to some more comments. Anthony says they weren't leaving them open. Harden, Max, and Harris were getting cooked off the dribble, and beat us to help. Wide open threes every time. That dribble kick offense for Boston is giving the Sixers big time issues. Kudos to Derek White. Last 2 games, he's hitting his shots. Who am I missing? Malcolm Brogdon hit a few threes tonight. Their guys were hitting shots, the Sixers weren't. And there were times when the Sixers were getting open shots, they weren't falling. Steven says, I blame Doc for not having his team sharp, but it wasn't an X's and O's defeat. This was an effort defeat. This was a hesitance defeat. I absolutely agree with that. Maurice says the series is over. The series was over in game 1. Okay. They're beatable for sure.
How about that?
Right? I agree, Kamar. I don't see Boston as a great team. I just think they're more prepared. I do think they're more prepared. And it's the sloppiness. It's the sluggishness. It's even Doc said he wanted to push the pace. There are times in this game when the shot clock goes and they don't even know it. There's this team.
Well, they had to call that extra 3 back at the half. They were down at 10. They were down by 10, and they became down at 7 because they literally got it off with a 1/10 of a second left.
I don't know.
I mean,
Daniel,
that's my point is kind of going back to, I don't know what that second to last comment was. Not the series was over at game 1. I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, this definitely wasn't an X's and O's defeat in any which way, and that's my point. If you can't be mentally prepared for, you have to have that winning mentality. How many Philly players have we seen who can just look good during the regular season, but when it comes to the big moments, we've always said, who's the guy who's going to catch it? And I go back to how many times I've said this to you, that there's 3 major moments in the process that are going to haunt us for years to come, and one of them was biting us in the ass tonight, and the other one's biting us in the ass because we're not having him, and we can see how well he's been doing. And number 1 was Jimmy Butler. Not having Jimmy Butler, that's going to haunt us. The other 2, it was the Markelle Fultz over Jason Tatum situation. But when we're watching him now, we're watching him thrive. And third, I'll throw the Bridges one in because I'm taking was it Zaire Smith over him. Mm-hmm. I mean, any one of those things don't happen, this is a different series.
Daniel says, got to keep George Niang in the game. I disagree with that. Kudos to George Niang, though, who I thought had a pretty decent game tonight. He had 10 points in this one, hit a couple threes. He wasn't picked on like he was in the first 2 games. So less Niang is more, in my opinion. But just like we said earlier, finding an upgrade over Niang is absolutely crucial. That's what we've seen in the first two games of this series is you'll see Boston get Niang over and over and over on switches and expose and exploit that mismatch. Joe says the series will end in 5. Everyone looked completely lackluster, standing around and watching, waiting for rebounds to come to them. Horrendous shooting. I mean, Yep.
The decision making was garbage from the whole game. Bad decisions made. I mean, the 5 seconds, the 5-second throw in at the end. I mean, they were kind of out of it the most part then, but that was just like the dagger through the heart, nail in the coffin situation. You can't even get the ball in. Boston is toying with you now. It's like a cat toying with a mouse with a half a leg left. Like I'm playing with you now, man. Like this is they're laughing. They're laughing right now. It's the team who wants it more. Like that's what makes Boston a good team. They want it more. You said it earlier. They're more disciplined. They're just going to play smarter. They have good players, but they don't have superstar players. There's no Joel Embiid on there. You know what I mean? And there's no James Harden on there at their best. But there's guys who can play well, and they will keep you off balance the whole time. And the fact that this team can't see that scares me. Scares me today, scares me going forward, and scares me next season and then further into the future.
I'm a big two-way fan, so I love Jaylen Brown. I would take Jaylen Brown over James Harden in a second. I think he's
I think anybody in Philly right now would agree with you.
Yeah. Melton and Niang are missing wide open shots. It hasn't been an outclassing, but it has been better prepped. McDaniel's missing wide open threes. McDaniel sucks. I don't see it. I don't know what that guy brings to this Sixers team. And it kind of goes hand in hand with this comment from Anthony Hands. You can't beat this team without competent wings. Jalen McDaniels, George Niang, PJ Tucker, like these guys are too hesitant from three. They're not good shooters. They don't give you anything when it comes to playmaking or scoring or anything. I made a tweet. I'd rather have Thibault in this game than a Jalen McDaniels because I'm still trying to find what McDaniels gives you, and he's given you nothing. Absolutely nothing. This guy was supposed to come in and give you some minutes when it comes to at least defending Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and he's done none of that. None of it. All right. Steven says the way Harden was shooting from deep this year, you got to maximize that. Toby was absolutely open. Absolutely agree. Niang must be stable to the bench this series, but Glenn won't do it. Absolutely agree. The tough part of this series is how do you coach a pro team when you don't even know what you're going to get from a point guard and number 2 guy. Dame time. We talked about that last series. We're not going to go there. Harden did a disappearing act from Anthony. Joe says the Celtics don't have superstars, but they have 5 guys playing cohesive ball at the time. That's what we said earlier, is that their roster construction is just so much better. They're kind of like the Sixers in that, like, they don't have playmakers. They don't have point guards. Neither do the Sixers, especially when it comes to throwing Embiid an entry pass. If it's not Harden, they have nobody that knows how to do that. DeAnthony Melton, who was awesome tonight, which we're going to give a nod to probably for player of the game. He sucks as a creator. He's not a playmaker. And Maxi's just not there yet. He's a scorer. And he has no ability yet to start and stop and find an open guy on the perimeter. He's just not there yet. So that being said, Al, we're already 34 minutes in. Let's go into player of the game. Lead us off, man.
I mean, player of my game, Jason Tatum. Should have been a Sixer, not a Sixer. And, here's a guy who disappeared last game and had 7 points, and they routed us, right? And then he comes in, and they, again, kept us at bay. Joel Embiid is going to be the easy player of the game if you're picking a Sixer because nobody else played tonight. Like, nobody else played. Everybody kind of was like, pick a ball. We're playing Joel's, we're in Joel's house, and I'm not blaming him for that. He played hard. He was the only reason this game was a 10-point differential. Or 11 points or whatever the heck it was in the long run. But I can't pick anybody on the Sixers. I'm just so disgusted.
Steven says Tatum had the daggers tonight. Anthony says, what's JJ's number? Can he shoot threes? Because he's accurate. And he'll actually shoot them.
Yeah.
I'm tired of players that come to Philly and just pump fake from 3. I'm tired of it. And you give up a guy like an Isaiah Joe who is not afraid to let it rip from the perimeter. I just hate the way this roster was constructed. I hate it, man. That guy would be a clear fit when you're looking at tonight and you're missing wing depth. Isaiah Joe would have been nice. I'm going to go Sixers route, and I do want to give him a shout out. He's had a terrific playoffs. DeAnthony Melton had 14 points, 8 boards, 4 steals, a block in just in 30 minutes in this one. DeAnthony Melton was really active defensively, I thought. And you look at the box score, and it felt this way. Holy cow. I just noticed that Jalen McDaniels was a plus 10 in 11 minutes. Wow, that's fun. That's amazing. That's an example of how you can, contrive stats and use it how you want it to fit your narrative. All right, but that does not make sense. But DeAnthony Melton was a plus 1 in this one. Was, I think, a big part of some stretches for the Sixers that they did have some positives. But DeAnthony Melton has been great so far. That was the knock on him, DeAnthony Melton, coming to the Sixers, that he really struggled last playoffs. And I thought he's been pretty decent.
He was a good pick from the get. I mean, I was so happy when they didn't draft that night and just picked him up and used it to get a good player, a good bench player. I mean, we needed him. Need a guy like him. He shows up. There's times he kind of carries this team when he's out there. So yep. I love I've been praising DeAnthony Melton all season long, but like I said, it's hard for me to look at this Sixers team and give anybody any award. And I'm not like really weird about things like this, but I really wish they didn't give that MVP award tonight. Like, I don't know. I don't like how they do in the middle of the playoffs. It's a weird situation to me.
Kumar says, I watched our guards just watch rebounds like Tiago said last game. So frustrating. Stevens got hope still. It's not too late to get it together. And Anthony says, what is Hershey Hawkins' number? He was accurate too. Or Jeff Hornacek.
Hornacek? Oh, geez.
That's great. Fun fact, I was actually in, I think, what was it, Arizona when that trade went down. And I was on the plane when Hornacek went to Philly. And I sat next to him, and I got his autograph and got to talk to him. Weird random fact that I remember when I was a kid.
I mean, listen, Steve, I give you a lot of credit for having some confidence. I mean, as long as they're still not eliminated, there's always a chance. But I mean, even if they come back and win Game 4 and they go 2-2, tie up the series 2-2. I mean, you got to go back to Boston twice now. You have to beat them in Boston twice. And I'm not always about beating them in Boston, beating them in Philadelphia, because obviously that doesn't make much of a difference for this team right now. But I don't know what you think is going to happen. Like, James Harden's going to have this epiphany and pull it out of himself. And Tyrese Maxey's going to be able to say, all right, I'm not number 3 guy. I'm going to be number 2 guy at least. And this team's going to get it together. I don't know. Like, it's wishful thinking. I want to be that because I'm usually that guy. I want to be positive, but I'm negative out right now. And I got to do a Phillies post-game show about another loss to Boston. So it's going to be nasty sour, boys and girls. I hate to break it to you.
It all comes down to James Harden and his confidence. That's it. That is as simple as that. You saw in Game 1, he was hitting shots. He was confident. He took 30 shots in that game. The last 2 games, he's looked hesitant. And it's getting worse. And I'm worried about his lift too, because as we saw in the Brooklyn series, that series only went 4 games, and we saw his lift and touch around the basket get worse and worse as well. So we'll see what happens in Game 4. I think that's Sunday at 3:30, and we'll be here breaking it down as always. Yeah,
go to church, light a couple candles. Get on your knees and pray, because that's what this team needs. Some massive prayers. If you're not a religious person, that's cool. Pray anyway, man. We need all the help we can get.
That's the frustrating thing about this was the Sixers could have easily won this game. Easily. And they just kind of shat the bed. All right, Al. Final thoughts on this game. What do you got going on, man? Plugs.
Final thoughts. I think I put my thoughts out there. My final thoughts are: I want to be, like I said, Steve. I want to be positive. The only way this team's going to make me positive if they play crisp basketball together. I'm out of it already.
Bryce Harper comes in and
Bryce, put Bryce out there. Put Jalen Hurts out there. Yeah, maybe that's it. Put Hurts and Bryce and any other superstar we have. Put them out there, and maybe that'll be like get those two to like simultaneously ring the bell together. Whatever it is you have to do. I don't know. Can somebody please tell me what we need to hook these guys up to car batteries to get the charge into them? Because I don't know what it is. So that's it. My plug is see me in about 5 minutes after the show ends at the Fightins final, talking about the Phillies losing, a Philadelphia team losing to another Boston team. It's going to be riveting.
Barry says if MB is going to play, he needs to enforce his will in the low post. Absolutely agree, but he can't get the ball. Boston's guards and forwards are not letting him ball because the spacing is so bad. It's so bad.
They are forcing him out of the perimeter so much. They are keeping him out. They're like, fine, you go out there and play all you want.
Yep. Anthony says, my final thoughts are let Harden go back to Houston and choke again. You're not that far off, Anthony. That's where this is definitely evolving into. But next year is just going to suck. Anyway, final thoughts. Eagles crushed it. I'm really happy about the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm like all juiced up for Eagles football, baby. Already started the train on the 2024 draft. Dropped my rankings for running back and cornerback, and tomorrow will be linebacker and wide receiver.
And that also will be dropping on the EOP Facebook page over Saturday and then Sunday too. So if you don't follow it on YouTube too much, follow us on Facebook, and I'll make sure you guys get it there too. So as well as Twitter.
All 4 classes stacked. I'm talking about like 5 guys for each that are like first round talent and or elite talent. So fun draft, but we say that about the next year's draft every time.
Yeah.
So who knows what 2023 is going to look like. So that process has started. Season doesn't start until August. So we're starting early this year. That's about it. Guys, we will see you on Sunday afternoon, breaking it all down as well when the Sixers get a W in Game 4 and push it to Game 5. He is Big Al at Big Al EOP, EOPsports.com. Check out all the amazing content. For Al, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.